Hey Jason, if maxing out is so safe, why did this person or that person on YouTube or the internet get hurt hitting a max? Okay. And this is something that you have to understand how injuries occur from training. And what people need to understand is that the person who got hurt on a max, a lot of times there's some things that have gone wrong that you're not thinking about. Number one, when we're talking about maxing out, we're talking about being relatively calm. Okay, chill, collect, calm maxes. And even guys like Louis Simmons make that very clear if you read any of his books and material. All right, the guys are coming in and they're maxing without psychologically preparing first. He specifically says do not prepare for your maxes. That means no time sitting around dwelling about it, getting in your zone, any of that bullshit. All right, that is not what we do in training. You get in and just hit a max. Like right there, I'm doing that 552 box squat. I just relaxed and chilled ahead of time, and I did that at like 6 a.m. without a pre-workout or anything else. You just come in and we just train. So there is that factor going on, but the other thing that people aren't thinking about is that what is it that causes most injuries? This is becoming largely agreed upon in the scientific literature. It is overuse injuries. It is overuse injuries that causes the overwhelming majority of injuries in the weight room. What do you mean by overuse? Performing the same movement pattern repetitively over and over with no variation, and without possibly any work to strengthen your tendons and things. So, the other thing people look at, they see those of us who rotate on the conjugate system, all these maxes. Look how rare it is for someone to get hurt doing this. Why do you think that is? So we're changing the angle every time. We might use chains, we might use bands, different change weights, a different bar, adjust the range of motion 1 inch. Okay, maxing on these different movements. And notice they're not coming in and just, let me get psyched up and slap myself and use shitty form and bounce something. No, they're controlled maxes. Yes, and you'll see me maxing on good mornings and things. Okay, overuse is a big deal, though. It is an enormous deal. And you have to factor that in when you see someone get hurt, because the problem is that the majority of people out here who put their name out there, who discuss being coaches and lifters, they don't do what I do. People say, oh my God, that's so egotistical. No, it's the truth. They don't document their training. I'll ask you right now, the person who injured themselves, do you know what every workout they did looked like for the last 3 weeks before they got hurt? You're like, well, no, how could I? Because they don't video it, they don't upload it to the internet. Guys, we live in a modern era. This is 2020. Anybody can easily document all of their training for you. You can upload it to YouTube, you can upload it to your other social media, actual videos of your lifting, and list your workouts. I do. And it's good to have just for your own records. But the point is, you don't know what their training looked like. If they're getting hurt badly, there's probably some garbage training methods happening. They didn't rotate movements enough. They didn't spend time working on tendons. Now, some people will say, well, we can get around this with just using a linear periodization. Yeah, maybe to some extent, but I don't know that you do. I don't know that using that with the same exercises identical over and over doesn't cause injury either, to be fair. And you got to keep that in mind when some of these debates happen. You got to have the context of where people are making their money. What sort of programming are they selling? I don't know. And that's been using me. People are like, well, you're selling. Not really. I've written a handful of programs, but normally it's coaching. In my coaching, we change stuff through blocks all the time anyways. Right? My coaching is a custom service. I'm not out there selling this programming. And I have limited slots. I can't just take everybody at this point. So it's not really the same thing, but a lot of times people who are selling some of those programs, you got to keep that in mind. They may not want to talk to you about the risk of overuse. But overuse injuries. People rotate movements. This goes down dramatically. Also, tendon health. Okay, tendon health. Are guys specifically looking at what are the most common injuries for the movement patterns that they do, and then saying, how can I build my tendons up to avoid this? Okay, how many people are investing in a reverse hyper who want to deadlift at an elite level? I'm going to go out there and say that if you want to deadlift at an elite level and you are not willing to invest in a reverse hyper to have, you don't have one at your gym, especially if you're getting older, well, don't complain. In fact, if most people saw the damage to their back just as they aged, they'd buy a reverse hyper. I'm talking about non-lifters. If you had the average non-lifter went and got an MRI of their lumbar every 5 years, no sane person, even someone who doesn't even lift, wouldn't have something like that. I mean, I'm sorry, it's bad. And I've seen some coaches point that out. Okay? You have to take care of your lower back. Take care of your lower back. Worried about bicep tears. Again, issue for me. What kind of range of motion are you doing in really high rep exercises to build those tendons up? Are you doing anything to build those tendons? Hamstring pulls. Well, are you training your hamstrings? It seems like almost every time in my history, and I know this for a fact, every time I pulled a hamstring deadlifting or doing anything, is because I had removed good mornings from my program for at least a year. Every single time. Which hasn't been that many, but you know, you guys get the idea. Why aren't you doing good mornings? Why aren't you doing other serious hamstring work? It's your weak hamstrings that are causing them to tear. All right. Quad tears. Well, maybe you need to learn how to squat in a way that doesn't tear your quad. What about the person's drug stack? That's a big one. And I had someone, and I hinted at that because someone had linked me. I think it was possibly like Jay Masters tearing a quad. All right. Using wraps and all that. I believe he had wraps on. But he had listed his drug stack a few weeks before he had that tear. You don't think the specifics of your drug stack contributes to tendon injury? I promise you it does. His drug stack looked like a stack that says, hey, I want to tear my tendons. Combining Tren and Winstrel together. And we've known for years that Winnie causes that. And I've seen more and more coaches kind of point out, yeah, trenbolone seems to not actually be that good for tendons either. And these are guys who have the biochem background and the research background to kind of make that statement. All you bodybuilders like what works for me pretty. A lot of powerlifters like it real strong for my weight. If you're tearing shit, are you sure it's worth it? Not to mention the blood work. And you guys who've messed with it, you know damn good and well what I'm talking about, what your blood work looks like. You actually care about your health, it's probably not your best option. Just kind of putting that out there. Kind of throw that out there. There's better choices. But, you know, for example, his stack itself was very, very, very heavy on more than one compound that is heavily associated with tendon ruptures in training. Combine that with overuse, probably too quad dominant, and the way that he was squatting, that whole combination's a recipe for disaster. So when you look at this stuff and you say, well, how come this person got hurt maxing out? It's not the maxing out that hurt them. You don't think they get hurt doing triples and fives and tens? You don't think serious lifters get hurt doing 6-rep sets? I promise you they do. And we see Steve Shaw rip a hamstring doing submaximal squats right there on camera and flop around on camera on the ground when he popped his hamstring off. You didn't see, what's his name, Tara Peck doing dumbbell chest presses. What's his name, Devin Physique? Not the maxing that's hurting these guys. It's piss poor training methods, sometimes combined with very, very poor choices in illicit substances they're putting into their body. It's a bad combination. Alright guys, well that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.